Hi, I'm Jen Gumbel. Welcome to Factors in Selecting a Guardian for Your Kids. Now, selecting a guardian to parent your kids, if you can't, is the most important legal decision that you'll make. But it's also one of the most difficult decisions that I run into. What if you have lots of great options and can't pick between them? What if you have no perfect options? This is a common barrier to getting done what you know you should get done. And that's your estate plan. Every adult needs to have an estate plan, a strategy to think through the legal to-do list you'll leave. And when you have kids, that's incredibly important because when you have kids that are grieving, you don't want the adults around them to also have to be dealing with an unnecessary mess. But this barrier of selecting a guardian, I see this time and time again, prevent people from getting their plan done. Now, I'm Jen Gumbel. I'm an attorney who's worked with hundreds of families, and I'm a longtime estate planning CLE teacher. I've taught attorneys across the country how this stuff works. I'm also passionate about teaching regular people how this works so they know how to not leave a mess. And that's why I created an organized afterlife. I'm an online educator and podcaster. And today is not legal advice, but it is education. Now, first of all, let's talk about what a guardian is. And let's hold on for a second because you might want to stop and take down notes, but I have a link to a PDF below for you to just click on and it'll shoot a PDF right to your inbox. So don't worry about trying to write down a bunch of notes. Just listen and download the PDF. Okay, a guardian is a person that a court puts in place to have legal authority over a person who can't have authority over themselves, including children under 18. Now, a court is going to be involved when there are children who don't have parents. But you can tell the court who that person should be through a document like a will. But how do you choose who that person should be? Well, when I have clients who are stuck on this question, I think about factors like your goals. This is a pretty good way to deal with any hard question. Think about your end goal. That can bring tons of clarity to the question. Okay, keep in mind who you select as guardian is not a merit badge for who loves your kid the most. That seems like a silly statement, but I will tell you, that's what a lot of people get hung up on. See, the person that you should name should be the person that is in the best position to raise your kids into the adults you hope for them to become. Now, in my case, I have 4 kids, and one of my biggest goals for my kids is that they grow up to be independent adults who can go out into the world and think and act for themselves. Now, let's say they have an aunt who loves them to pieces and cannot tell them no. Well, that's not going to be a great dynamic to make those kids become independent adults. And so while that person is incredibly important in their life, maybe there is a better option to raise them into adulthood. Another factor I think about is the ages of your kids and stage of life of the guardian. This is a long game plan. Remember, you're selecting the person you want to raise your kid until they become an adult. And being in that role is very different when you're asking them to raise a 3-year-old into an 18-year-old versus raising a 13-year-old to an 18-year-old. Another factor is location. Where do your children live? How long have they lived there? Will a move be yet another disruption to them when they are grieving you, not having you around? And is it possible for the kids to stay put? Is there an option that keeps them where they're used to being? Or maybe moves them to a place that's very similar to what they're used to. Think about all of these things as you evaluate your various options. And finally, naming a couple. Now, this is pretty common, actually. When people are doing their estate plan, they give the name of a couple. And you don't have to. Consider if both partners would continue to be your choice if one of them died or if the couple gets a divorce. You don't need to put both of their names on the document simply because they're married. You can name one person who just so happens to be married. Let's say that you're going to name your brother, and you like your sister-in-law. She's a great person, but if they got a divorce, she wouldn't be on your list. You don't need to include her. But let's also say you're going to pick your best friend, whose husband happens to be really good friends with you and your husband. And if one of them died, the other would still be your choice. Put both of them down. But if you are still stuck, ask your estate planning attorney. That's what estate planning attorneys bring to the table. It's strategy. Again, an estate plan is a strategy that takes documents. It also takes financial organization to make sure the plan happens. And when it comes to the issue of kids, well, lots of questions like, how can your assets benefit your children when they're too young to control it? Who should you name for guardian if you are still stuck after thinking through these factors? An attorney can help you think through these things. And there's more parents need to think about in addition to naming a guardian. You can find tons of resources at my website, organizedafterlife.com, including your Organized Afterlife workshop. It's an 8-session online at your pace workshop where I walk you through the steps you need to take and the information you need to know in order to leave a manageable to-do list. And follow me on Instagram. I'm Jen Gumbel. Thanks so much for joining me on Factors in Selecting a Guardian.